Hello Ratbags, it's Jade. Welcome to a little look at Little Devil Inside, which got showcased at the State of Play last night. This is a brand new survival game that's going to be coming out apparently in 2022 now. It's a bit sad we didn't get a definitive date, but that's what it says at the end of this trailer. This is probably only the second time we've seen some actual proper gameplay in maybe a year, and it does give us a really good idea though what to expect in this unique survival roguelike game. It's going to be a launch exclusive for PlayStation 4 and 5 and possibly coming out to Xbox, PC and Nintendo Switch at some point later on. It's been in development since 2014. I've got another video showcasing 10 things you need to know about the game if this is the first time you've come across it. It's on my second channel, Jadecraft. Go and check that out right now. But let's dive into what was shown off at State of Play PlayStation reveal last night. So there's a big component of survival games, having an open world to run around, build your bases in, gather resources, fight enemies, complete quests, whatever it is. But I've kind of got a bit sick and tired of big open worlds being pretty empty and not filled with things to do, or just simply being pretty boring. And it seems like Little Devil Inside is trying to resolve that. They've got kind of old school method of traversing the world with your doll-like characters, like a Japanese role-playing game like Final Fantasy VII back in the day, and then you'll come across certain areas where you'll have interactions with NPCs, creatures, gather resources, because it is importantly a survival game. I'll sped the video up a little bit or just cut some out to show you more, and take a look. Here it is. This is you going across the map. So it's not going to be a fully open world experience that some people may have been expecting. The devs have now stated that this is the way that you'll travel. Now I've seen some various other trailers. There's going to be lots of ways that you'll travel across the map, not just by foot or by train, but by car and by donkey and camel also. So again, it's very unique in that you'll get around maybe upgrading to different creatures, different ways, or certain beats of the story will dictate you'll need a certain creature to get through a certain environment. And as you can see, them environments will be dangerous for a number of reasons, not only just food and water, but making sure you've got the right equipment to deal with different temperatures and different weather effects. On top of that, deep sea diving in a yellow submarine? Sure, why not? We're effectively going from having what could potentially be a boring overworld map filled with just markers that you've got to get to something that could be pretty instinctive and interesting as you travel. And on the way, you'll encounter different situations. You can stop off, you can have a moment to rest up, talk to NPCs, sort out your inventory, or maybe prepare for the adventure ahead. When you arrive at your destination, that's pretty much where it's going to be like a mini level, where you'll investigate clues, because you are a supernatural investigator. You're meant to be gathering clues for your professor in a sort of 19th century, obviously weird alternative world. I've got to say, I quite like this style. I know it might not suit everyone's cup of tea if you're used to just playing games like Ark or Conan, but get out of here if you call yourself a survival fan if that's the only types of survival you play. What I really like about this is the way it's mixing up and blending elements, and this has only got to be a good thing to have like lots of big encounters, maybe reducing the grind from just necessarily gathering loads and loads of resources, but instead you'll go to a certain area, you may gather certain things you need or artifacts or face off against supernatural beings, and then you'll go back to your hub and you'll prepare. And that's what reminds me also a lot of Monster Hunter World. The problem I found with Monster Hunter World was that I never liked the stages. They were all too repetitive, doing the same thing over and over again, taking on the same monsters, just increasing the difficulty, or maybe trying to develop some new strategies. That just wasn't for me, hence why I never stuck with the game when it launched. But give me a survival game where I need to prepare a little bit, and I'll have different encounters at each one of these destinations, and I could potentially be viewing it in different ways that doesn't require 100 hours of mini-maxing, then I'm down for that. Also helps, I really like this art style, I really like the concept of the story, and the characters already look great. They've obviously gone for minimalist looks, but it does mean that they can maybe put a lot more into the game. And don't worry if I'm speeding through this trailer a little bit, I am going to go over every single component of it while we talk. But just to give you an idea, we've come to this strange man, he's basically dumped us in his pool, and now we're going to face off against a giant tentacle sort of squid. And I really like that element too. Story elements that you won't necessarily know about. You're not necessarily going to get all the information before you go to a certain area. And even when you're maybe running through an area that should be relatively safe to gather certain resources, you could be attacked by random encounters by creatures like these. And there's a whole host of creatures that I've seen in various other trailers. So it's looking good, as is all these different biomes. From seas, where you'll be deep sea fishing, to the snowy mountains, to lush forests and jungles and deserts. It's great looking. Now if we rewind a little bit and we take a look, you have got a crew with you at times and you'll pick them up, get some information and maybe they'll help you get prepared for the next leg of your journey. But you will be able to return to a certain place to actually regain your health and make sure you've got enough stuff. If you however die on one of your adventures or missions, you will have to restart but with a new character. You will be able to go and pick up some remnants, some old items that you may have dropped there when you died, but it is a roguelike in that respect. You will have to start over that segment again. And so an encounter with a sheep could end up being very different if you've got random encounters happening, and the way that you'll approach certain situations means you're going to have to do a lot more research, and you'll be able to research in a special library in one of the hub areas. So hopefully that's explained the overworld a lot more. A big huge map, yes, but you'll have random encounters whenever you stop to talk to an NPC possibly, or locations that you specifically go in to complete a mission. And now let's get into the survival elements. A really sparse UI. They really want to make it so you're not flooded with loads of different menus. In fact, apart from your inventory, there's not going to be much going on at all. How many times have you played a survival game and it's popped up that you're sick, that you've broken a leg, that something's hurting you, and you know what you need to then do to fix it? Well, Little Devil Inside is trying to be a bit different. In some interviews they've given, they've said that you get markers. Basically, if you injure your leg, you'll start limping. If you have got certain character traits, because each time you die, you could start with a new character trait, then that character trait will reflect in your appearance. You may have more narrow eyes if you're a bit obsessed with women, apparently, from a description of one interview. So survival and completing some of these missions and tasks could rely on what kind of traits you get and the luck of the dice. Now, I haven't got that confirmed 100% on whether or not it's going to be randomly generated each time, or whether or not you will be able to kind of choose certain traits, or maybe these will develop. What we do know is from the screenshots, a clear indication of weight and inventory management being very, very simple indeed. You can see there's a slot for envelopes, so basically giving you some story. These open up just to give you a clue or tell you where to go. And then it's just filled with food and one slot for your sword, one slot for armor. So we haven't actually seen too many different types of armor in the game, but clearly it is something that you can equip or not equip. You'll also notice there's a second hand slot, so you will be able to hold torches, maybe dual wield weapons, or use a sword and shield at times as well. So these are all components a true survival fan will know and appreciate. Having to carefully manage your inventory, making sure you've got the right equipment, the right gear for the right time. And that all ties into being prepared. You're not going to carry absolutely everything with you at all times. By the looks of things, you will have the chance to maybe dump some of this stuff off and pick and choose what you really need. So, not really a truly open world game as we've come to know and expect. And the dangers are that you'll get frustrated that you're seeing some gorgeous vistas and areas, but they're quite limited in their space and scope, and it involves you having to do a little bit of dog work going between these. That's the sense I got from the trailer, that it looks fantastic. I like this idea. I don't necessarily need a big bloated world that takes me half an hour to get across. Just give me some interactions, ways to prepare and ways to survive in that moment rather than the constant grind for survival, and I'm down for that. But I can definitely see it being a bit of a negative to some people. But given what the trailer shows and says about stopping off and having these unique encounters, it doesn't feel like it's going to necessarily get stale or too old. The way that you zoom in and out as you're travelling, and by all accounts zooming in whenever you want. If you do want to stop and take a look at a certain area, you can. It's not going to say no, there isn't anything to look at here. Again, that's the vibe I'm getting. It could be maybe a bit of trickery with the trailer, as we've only kind of seen certain instances where he's met some sheep and zoomed in on the sheep and then taken a look, or while he's been on the train, it's given him that chance to prepare. But if it really is a world where you can just stop off and admire stuff and go and explore a little bit, then this game could be huge. I guess the best example of this is meeting this old lady NPC character where it zooms in and you can simply ask for directions or buy some resources. And it looks like we'll be doing a lot of this kind of stuff, gathering intel and info while making sure we're stocking up on our favourite foods. So when it comes to the enemies and creatures, well, yeah, a big massive squid you'll find in a swimming pool? Sure, why not? How about some albino goblins with many tongues? Yeah, cool idea. I like the idea of what the trailer shows here as well, that you can use them to your advantage. You can literally use one as a horrible enemy shield as you stab him and swirl him around. We've even got time for a little nod in the trailer to some sort of steampunk Horizon Zero Dawn creature that pops out at the end of the train tunnel. And judging by the way they're running away, you might not necessarily be able to defeat every enemy you come across, not without significant type of gear or weapons. Sometimes it's going to be better just to run. So clearly, hopefully, I'm showing you guys I'm absolutely loving this. I'm going to give it as much info as I can across both channels. You'll get the main content and then deeper dives into the game on my second channel. And when the game releases, you'll get gameplay and guides on the main, but even more gameplay and other stuff going on the second channel. JCraft, I think I plugged that enough, yeah? Yeah? Go follow it, go and check out the video I've got up and running right now, and I'll see you rat bags for more very soon.